My child, I want you to hear me today. Not because everything around you has been resolved, not because your circumstances have shifted or the weight you have been carrying has suddenly lifted, but because I take care of impossible things, and I want you to know that with a certainty that reaches deeper than your worry. This moment did not find you by accident. It arrived at the exact point where your heart needed to hear something that would cause it to pause. Something that would say to you, you can breathe now. You can let go. You can rest. I am good. Even now. Even here, at this point where the answers are not arriving as quickly as you need them. Even when the weight of waiting feels heavier than your spirit can bear. Even when you smile on the outside while something on the inside simply will not settle. I am good even there. And today, I am not asking you to make promises you cannot keep. I am not asking you to repeat words you do not yet feel. I am not asking you to perform a strength you do not have right now. I only ask you to listen with an open heart, to listen without becoming defensive, to listen without rushing ahead to what comes next. Because while you listen, something is already happening inside you. What was agitated is finding calm. What was tangled is beginning to find order. What was on the verge of giving up is being quietly strengthened. I know you have been carrying too much. I know your mind has not rested the way it should. I know you have tried to solve things that were beyond your reach. I know you have jumped ahead in your thoughts to scenarios that have not even happened yet. And I know that all of this, without you fully realizing it, has been slowly stealing your peace. That is why I am speaking to you today, not with reproach, not with a list of what you should have done differently, not with demands that add to the weight you are already carrying, but with both tenderness and authority. Keep your peace, not because the problem is small, not because what you are facing does not matter, but because I am greater than what faces you, because I am faithful, because I do not lose control, not even for a moment. There are decisions ahead of you that bring fear. There are paths you do not know whether to take. There are answers you have waited a long time for that still have not come. There are silences that have made you wonder whether I am still at work. And in the middle of all of that, I want to remind you of something you must not forget. I am already working in the places you cannot yet see. I see your exhaustion. I see the nights you struggled to find sleep. I see the thoughts that come when everything grows quiet and the noise of the day finally fades. I see the questions you do not dare say out loud. I see the effort that no one around you notices or applauds. I see the quiet faith that keeps sustaining you, even when you do not understand the process you are in. And I do not reproach you for any of it. I do not point fingers. I do not demand more than you are able to give right now. On the contrary, I draw near. Come and rest in me. Because there are burdens that were never meant for you to carry alone. There are worries that do not belong to you, even though you have taken them on as your own. There are battles that are not yours, even though you have felt them as yours for far too long. There are weights you picked up simply because no one else seemed to be carrying them. There are emotional responsibilities you absorbed without ever being asked to. I see all of that. I see how much you have carried. I see how much you have endured. I see what it has cost you, the cost that no one else noticed you were paying. I do not ignore what you are going through, but I will not allow it to have the final word over your story. I am still here even when you feel fragile. I am still faithful even when your strength gives way. I am still good even when you do not understand the process you are moving through. And today I want you to hold this in the deepest part of your heart. Your peace does not depend on everything being fixed today. It depends on who you hand what you cannot solve. When you choose to trust me, peace does not come from circumstances. It comes from the certainty that I am with you. This is an invitation to stop, to breathe, to release the need to have everything under control. Because when you let go, I take hold. And when I take hold, what seemed impossible begins to fall into place, even without you realizing it is happening. Keep listening. Do not rush. Do not let yourself become distracted. Because even though your mind tries again and again to return to worry, I am still in charge of what seems impossible. I am good even now. Even at this point where you feel you have done everything within your power, and the results are still not visible. There are moments when the heart grows more tired than the body, and I know that is exactly where you find yourself today. Perhaps you have tried to be strong for a long time. You have kept going even when you did not feel like it. You have met your responsibilities while something inside you felt like it was quietly draining away, something you could not quite put into words. And even if no one around you notices it, I see it. I see every effort you made without recognition. I see every night you chose to keep believing despite the silence. I see the faith that makes no noise but that keeps sustaining your life. That is why I am speaking to you gently today, not to add more pressure, but to relieve it. I want you to understand something important. Peace does not mean there are no problems. It means you have chosen to trust in the middle of them. It is not a denial of reality. It is a recognition of a greater reality, my faithfulness. When you choose to keep your peace, you are not pretending that nothing is happening. You are acknowledging who holds what is happening. There are situations that are not resolved by thinking harder. There are burdens that are not lightened by rehearsing every possible negative outcome. And there are impossible things that only begin to change when you stop fighting alone and allow me to act. I am not asking you to carry what does not belong to you. I am asking you to trust that I know how and when and where to intervene. Perhaps today you feel you are at a point where you do not know what else to do. You have prayed. You have waited. You have trusted. And yet everything appears to remain the same. But I want to tell you something clearly. The fact that you do not see immediate change does not mean nothing is happening. Most of the time I work first in the invisible, in the deep, in the internal, before anything moves in the external. While you feel everything is at a standstill, I am arranging the things you cannot yet see. I am closing paths that would cause you harm. I am preparing others that are not yet visible to you. I do not improvise. I do not arrive late. I do not make mistakes with you. Every period of waiting has a purpose. Every silence has an intention. I know there are fears you do not say out loud, fears you keep to yourself so as not to worry those you love, thoughts that surface when you are alone and the noise of the world quietens. And still, I do not withdraw. I draw closer. Because when your heart becomes restless, my peace becomes more necessary than ever. Today I invite you to live one day at a time, not to carry the weight of tomorrow into today, not to punish yourself for things that have not happened yet, to rest in the knowledge that I am already in your future, attending to every detail. When you trust me, your soul finds rest, even without having all the answers. There are battles that are not won by fighting harder. They are won by trusting more deeply. There are burdens not lightened by controlling everything. They are lightened by surrendering everything. And there are impossible situations that begin to align when you decide to keep your peace and let me take charge. I see what has been happening in your mind. It has been a battlefield. Thoughts arriving uninvited. Scenarios replaying over and over even after you have tried to release them. Fears that jump ahead into the future and paint it dark before it even arrives. Comparisons that make you feel you are falling behind. Doubts that appear just when you thought you had finally found some stillness. And today I want to tell you that you do not have to fight every thought that surfaces. Not everything that passes through your mind has to stay. There are ideas you do not need to feed. There are fears you do not need to accept as the truth about your life. Peace is also knowing how to say, this thought does not govern me. It is choosing to trust when your mind wants to control. It is returning to me every time the internal noise tries to take back the calm I have already given you. I am not preparing you merely to survive. I am preparing you to live with steadiness, to walk without the constant underlying fear that has worn you down. to move forward without that sense of urgent pressure that robbed your sleep for so many nights. What is coming requires a firm heart, not a frantic one, not an anxious one, but a firm one. Perhaps you have noticed something already. Even though the situation has not yet been resolved, you do not react the same way you once did. Before, fear would take hold faster. Before, any difficult news would immediately steal your sleep. Before, anything that went wrong would make you feel as though everything was collapsing. And now, even though you are still waiting, there is a calm beginning to accompany you. A calm you cannot always explain, but it is there. That is not indifference. That is me, adjusting your interior. Because when I am about to do something significant, I first teach you to hold yourself in peace. Not so that you settle for less than you deserve, but so that you do not break when the change arrives. There are blessings that, if they reach an anxious heart, become a burden instead of a joy. That is why I am forming you in calm before showing you what I am capable of. I know you have come through seasons where everything felt urgent, where you felt that if you did not act quickly, you would lose everything, where the pressure of time pushed you into decisions made from exhaustion. And today I am teaching you something different. Not everything that matters is immediate. There are things that mature in silence, and in that silence they become the most significant things. There are answers that become stronger over time. There are changes built step by step, quietly, without announcement. Keeping your peace does not mean staying still out of fear. It means not moving from a place of anxiety. I want you to make decisions from faith, not from pressure, from clarity, not from exhaustion. Because when you decide from weariness, you reach for the first thing that resembles an exit. But when you decide from peace, you choose what is truly right, what has a real future, what has roots, what will last. Perhaps you have found yourself wondering why this particular season has gone on so long, why you have walked through things that others did not seem to experience, why you have waited in uncertainty while others appeared to receive answers more quickly, why the same trust you offered did not produce the same timing as it did for someone else. And today I answer you, not with cold reasoning, but with love. Because what is coming requires mature faith, a settled peace, a heart that knows how to rest even when it cannot understand what is happening around it. I do not delay out of carelessness. I do not postpone things on a whim. I know exactly when to intervene. I know when a door should open and when it should remain closed a little longer. Not everything that appears to be a delay is a loss. Many times it is protection. Many times it is a careful hand working in ways you still cannot see. There are things you do not give thanks for today that you will understand later. Doors that did not open when you wanted them to. People who moved out of your life. Paths that seemed right but closed without explanation. None of that was a mistake. It was all part of guiding you toward a firmer place than you would have reached on your own. Keeping your peace means saying, I do not understand everything, but I trust the one who understands it all. I know there are days when the exhaustion returns without warning. Moments when your mind fills with questions again, even though you had already decided to let go. Instants when your faith feels fragile, and you cannot explain why. And even then, I do not withdraw. My faithfulness is not conditional on your emotional state today. My love does not change based on how much strength you have at any given moment. Perhaps you have reached your limit. Perhaps you have run out of words. Perhaps you no longer know exactly what to ask me for. And I want you to hear this clearly. Your limit is the very point where I begin to work. When you can no longer, I can. When you release control, I take it. I do not expect you to be strong all the time. I do not expect perfection from you. I expect honesty. I expect you to acknowledge that you need to rest in me, because in that honest, quiet surrender is where the impossible begins to move. Do not punish yourself for feeling afraid. Do not judge yourself for feeling tired. Do not condemn yourself for the questions that still have no answer. I do not reproach you for any of it. I understand your process. And today I remind you, you are not walking through this alone. Every step you take, even one taken with doubt, I walk beside you. You are not wasting your time. Every day, even the hardest ones, is doing its part. It is forming something in you that could not have been formed any other way. It is teaching you to trust without needing to control, to believe without needing to see, to rest without needing to understand. And that quiet faith, the kind no one else witnesses but that holds everything together, is the faith I honor. Declare your amen if you believe. You do not have to see the entire path in order to take the next step. You only have to know who is walking it with you. You are not waiting in vain. Every day that passes, something is aligning in the unseen. Every sincere prayer carries weight, even when you cannot see the immediate effect. Every difficult night held meaning, even if you still cannot name what it was. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was ignored. Nothing was without purpose. Every tear you shed was seen by me. Every moment you chose to keep believing was held. Every time you decided to trust, even when you had no visible reason to do so, I saw it. And that holds a weight that no present circumstance can erase. You are not carrying this alone anymore. I am still good even now, even here, even at this point where not everything has been resolved. My goodness does not depend on visible results. It depends on who I am, and I do not change. The peace that is beginning to settle around you is not an emotion that will disappear by tomorrow. It is a certainty that takes root deep in your heart when you choose to trust. It is the quiet that is born when you understand that I did not ask you to carry the impossible. I asked you to hand me what you cannot resolve. And that is what you are doing today. Perhaps when you came to this moment, your heart was restless. Your thoughts were racing. You had questions that still had no answer. You were tired of thinking, of trying, of waiting without anything visibly changing. But something is different now. Not because the situation shifted in an instant, but because you are no longer facing it alone. I placed myself before you. I reminded you that I carry the battles you cannot carry. I do not make light of what hurts you. I do not dismiss what worries you. I do not look past your tears or your sleepless nights. But I will not allow any of that to be the final word over your life. My love is greater than your fear. My faithfulness is stronger than your anxiety. My capacity is greater than any situation that seems impossible to you today. Hold this. Peace does not arrive when everything is fixed. Peace arrives when you fully trust in me. And that trust is built step by step, day by day. Even in the middle of processes you do not understand, even in the seasons when silence is the only response you receive. I did not promise you a path without difficulty, but I promised you my constant presence, and my presence is enough, more than enough. There will still be days when restlessness tries to return, moments when fear wants to knock again, nights when the questions come back without invitation. When that happens, come back to this. Remember that I spoke to you today. Remember that I asked you to hold your peace. Remember that I take care of impossible things. And rest again. I do not grow tired of taking care of you. I do not get distracted. I do not forget. I do not give up on you, not even in the moments when you feel you cannot take another step. I am still working even when you have no strength left to try again. That is grace. That is love. That is a faithfulness that does not depend on what you do or fail to do. It does not depend on whether you pray perfectly. It does not depend on whether your faith is perfect. It does not depend on whether you understand everything I am doing. It depends on who I am, and I am faithful. Always. Even in the seasons where you feel you do not measure up. Even on the days where the only thing you can do is breathe and keep going. I am there. Today you can move forward without rush, without pressure, without the anguish that has been your companion for too long. Not because everything is clear yet. Not because you have all the answers you expected to have by now. Not because the path ahead is fully lit, but because I am already going before you. You can walk knowing that every step is being guided. You can put down the burden that stole your sleep, because it is now in hands more capable than yours. Hands that do not grow weary. Hands that do not fail. Hands that already know the end of your story and are tending to it. With love, with precision, with care that reaches into every corner of your life. Keep your peace. I take care of the impossible. And in my hands, your life is held securely. There is something I want to tell you that goes beyond what you have already heard. Because the peace I am calling you into is not a destination you arrive at and simply stay. It is a living thing. It breathes. It grows. It deepens the longer you walk with me. And what I want to do now is take you further in. Not into more information, but into more of me. Into the parts of my nature that your worry has kept you too busy to discover. Into the quieter rooms of trust that most people never find, because they are always standing at the front door, knocking and asking, never realizing the door was already open. Come further in. There is a version of faith that most people are familiar with. It is the faith that asks. The faith that brings requests, that presents needs, that lays out the list of what is broken and what is wanted and what is needed by a certain time. And I do not dismiss that faith. It is real and it matters, and I hear every word of it. But there is a deeper faith, a quieter one that does not always come with words, one that simply sits with me and knows, without needing to explain, without needing to negotiate, without needing to rehearse the request one more time, that I am already aware, already working, already present in every detail. That is the faith I am forming in you now, not to replace your asking, but to give it roots. Because asking without roots becomes anxiety dressed in spiritual language. It becomes a performance of trust rather than trust itself. And I want something more real than that for you. I want you to reach a place where even your silence in my presence is full of the knowledge that you are known, full of the certainty that you are loved, full of the confidence that I have not overlooked a single detail of what you are carrying. You are fully known by me, and you are not condemned by what I know. That is something worth sitting with for a moment, because for many people, being fully known feels like a threat. The assumption is that if someone truly saw everything, every fear, every failure, every moment of doubt, every time you said you trusted me and then lay awake for hours doing the opposite, they would pull back. They would grow tired. They would revise their opinion of you downward. That is how it so often works with people. But I am not people. I see the version of you that you are most ashamed of, and I do not flinch. I see the gap between who you present yourself to be and who you feel yourself to be on the inside, and I am not surprised by it, not disappointed by it, not deterred by it. I have always known the whole of you, and the whole of you is who I chose. The whole of you is who I love. The whole of you is who I am working with, not in spite of your complexity, but through it, because it is precisely in the places where you are most uncertain that my strength has the most room to move. I want you to stop hiding from me, not because you have been doing it consciously, but because there is a part of you that approaches me already braced for some kind of correction, already composing the defense, already preparing to explain why things are the way they are. And I want to release you from all of that. You do not need to come to me polished. You do not need to arrive having already sorted yourself out. You can come exactly as you are, frayed, confused, not sure what you even believe on a given day. And I will meet you there, fully, without reservation. That is the nature of my love. It does not require you to be presentable. It only requires you to be present. I have been tilling the soil of your heart during your long winter. This turning of the earth was not meant to expose you. It was meant to prepare the ground for a life that can hold heavy weight. You felt the blade of the plow and thought it was the end. It was simply the start of your growth. The pillars of your character are rising now. These columns are built in the quiet of your obedience. They are forged to carry my promises without breaking under pressure. Beneath the surface, the roots of your trust are growing deep into my strength. This network of faith keeps you upright when the winds of change hit your life. I am asking you to lay a cornerstone of sacrifice into this ministry today. This release of your provision is a physical anchor for your faith. It ensures your house stands firm. Bring a stone for the wall of this mission by giving an offering of your substance. This gift is the labor that finishes the defense I am building around your future and my kingdom. Once you release this, you will stand in an orchard of peace. The branches of your life will be heavy with fruit that lasts even in the heat. This harvest will provide food and shade for everyone who walks through your gates. You will see that no season of waiting was wasted. The results will be larger than the fences of your old expectations. Rest now in this enclosed garden. This is the space where we meet, away from the noise of the world. I am the wall that protects your growth, and the sun that brings you to maturity. The things that have not worked out the way you expected, the closed doors, the unanswered seasons, the plans that fell apart despite your best efforts. I want you to look at those differently today. Not to pretend they did not hurt. They did. I know they did. But I want you to consider the possibility that within each of those disappointments, I was doing something that could not have been done any other way. There are things that can only be built in the space that loss creates. Think about what you know now that you did not know before the difficulty began. Think about the strength you discovered in yourself during the season you were most afraid. Think about the compassion that has grown in you for others because you know what it feels like to wait without answers. Think about the discernment you have developed, the ability to sense what is genuine and what is not, to recognize what truly matters and what only seemed to matter. None of that came from the easy seasons. All of that was forged in the ones that felt impossible. I was in every one of them, not watching from a distance with a neutral expression, not standing back to see how you would handle it, but present, deeply, actively present, working in ways that simply were not visible to you at the time. There are things I was protecting you from that you will never fully know about. Paths you almost took that would have cost you far more than the waiting cost you. People you almost chose who would have undermined the very thing I was building in you. Opportunities that looked like open doors, but that led into rooms that would have confined you rather than freed you. My protection is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like nothing happening. And I know that is one of the hardest things to hold, because the human heart interprets silence as absence, and absence as abandonment. But I need you to know that my quietest seasons are often my most active ones. The most intricate work happens in the dark, in the hidden places, in the long stretches where nothing seems to be moving. Trust me in the silence the same way you trust me in the moments when everything feels clear. I want to speak to you now about identity, about who you are when no one is measuring, when no result has arrived to confirm your worth, when the external markers of progress are absent and you are left simply with yourself. Because I have noticed something in you. So much of your peace, or the absence of it, has been tied to outcomes. When things are moving, when there are signs of progress, when the effort you are putting in is producing visible results, you find it easier to rest. You feel more at ease in my love. You feel more confident in your footing. But when the results pause, when the progress stalls, when the silence stretches, something in you begins to quietly question whether you are still on the right path, whether I am still pleased with you, whether you are still enough. And I want to address that with real tenderness and real clarity. Your worth is not a variable. It does not rise and fall with your productivity or your success or the speed at which things resolve around you. It is not something you earn in the seasons when you are performing well and forfeit in the seasons when you are simply surviving. Your value before me is fixed, not because you have convinced me of it through your efforts, but because I established it before you ever drew breath. before you ever made a choice, before you ever succeeded or failed at anything. You are not on trial with me. I know that sounds simple. I know you have heard versions of it before. But I want it to land differently today, not as a theological statement you acknowledge and file away, but as a truth that reaches into the specific place in you that still feels like it has to earn its way. The part of you that wakes up already calculating whether today will be a day you justify the space you occupy. The part of you that ties your sense of peace directly to your sense of performance. That is not how I see you. I see you the way a parent sees a child who is learning to walk, not with impatience when you stumble, not with disappointment when the steps are unsteady, but with the kind of love that is already certain of who you are becoming. The falling is part of it. The unsteadiness is part of it. None of it changes the verdict I have already rendered over your life. You are mine. That is settled. And from that settled place, not from striving, not from earning, not from finally getting it all right, your peace is meant to flow, not as a reward for good performance, but as the natural atmosphere of a life that knows it is held. Let me talk to you now about the people in your life, because some of what has been stealing your peace has not come from your own circumstances. It has come from the weight of other people's pain, other people's expectations, other people's opinions of what you should be doing and how quickly you should be doing it. You are perceptive. You feel things deeply. And that is a gift, one I placed in you intentionally. But it has also meant that you absorb more than you should. You take on atmospheres that do not belong to you. You carry emotional weight that was never yours to hold. There are people in your life who love you but do not always know how to love you well. People whose own unresolved fears come out as pressure on you. People who project their own anxiety onto your situation and call it concern. People who mean well but whose words leave you feeling heavier rather than lighter. And without realizing it, you have been managing not just your own inner world but theirs as well. Trying to be enough for them. Trying not to disappoint them, trying to hold yourself together in ways that keep everyone around you comfortable. I am asking you to put that down, not with bitterness, not with withdrawal, but with a gentle, clear understanding that you cannot pour from emptiness, and that protecting your peace is not selfishness. It is stewardship. I gave you that sensitivity. I gave you that capacity to feel and to care. And like all gifts, it needs boundaries around it in order to remain a gift, rather than becoming a wound. You are allowed to say, I cannot carry that for you right now. You are allowed to step back from conversations that consistently drain what little reserve you have. You are allowed to choose on certain days to protect the quiet I am growing in you rather than sacrificing it to the noise of everyone else's urgency. This is not about closing your heart. It is about being faithful with it. Because a heart that runs empty trying to sustain everyone else eventually loses its ability to give it all. And I have not called you to that. I have called you to love from a full place, from a place that is regularly replenished by time in my presence, by genuine rest, by the honest acknowledgement of your own limits. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. And it will make you more available to the people who truly need you than you have ever managed to be while running on empty. Comparison. The quiet, persistent thief that rarely announces itself but takes more from you than almost anything else. The sideways glance at someone else's life, their progress, their answered prayers, their seemingly smoother path, and the way that glance leaves a residue of doubt about your own. You do not always choose it consciously. Sometimes it simply happens. You see evidence of someone else moving forward and something in you deflates before you have even made a conscious decision to feel that way. I want to speak to this honestly. Every life I am building is distinct. Not slightly different, fundamentally, completely, architecturally different in its design, its timing, its purpose, and its path. What someone else is receiving right now is not evidence of what you are being denied. Their open door is not your closed one. Their answered season is not a comment on your waiting one. Their pace is calibrated for their story. Yours is calibrated for yours. When you measure your interior life against someone else's exterior one, you are comparing things that are not comparable. You are looking at the visible surface of their journey and measuring it against the full, unedited interior of your own. All your private doubt, all your unseen effort, all the weight only you are aware of. That comparison is not fair, it is not accurate, and it leads you nowhere useful. Come back to your own story, because your story is not behind. It is not less than. It is not somehow poorly arranged compared to someone else's. It is precisely and intentionally what it needs to be for who I am making you into. And some of what you carry, the depth of your sensitivity, the particular quality of your compassion, the specific understanding you are developing through this season, cannot be produced any other way. Someone else's easier path could not produce what this one is producing in you. And what is being produced in you is worth the cost of the process. I am not building you to be a copy of anyone. I am building you to be fully yourself, the version of you that is most alive, most free, most capable of the exact kind of love and impact that only you can offer. And that requires a custom process, one that does not look like anyone else's, one that cannot be measured against anyone else's timeline. Trust your process. Trust my wisdom in designing it. I want to talk to you about hope now. Not the fragile kind that depends on everything going well, but the kind that can exist in the middle of everything going wrong. There is a version of hope that is really just optimism, a temperamental tendency to expect good outcomes, pleasant and useful when it shows up, but ultimately vulnerable to circumstance. When things look positive, this kind of hope is easy. When they do not, it evaporates. You know what that feels like. You have experienced the particular pain of hope that was built on expectation rather than on something solid, and watched it collapse when reality did not cooperate. But the hope I am speaking of is different in its very nature. It does not live in the weather of your circumstances. It does not rise when things look promising and fall when they do not. It is anchored in something beneath all of that, in the unchanging reality of who I am, what I have promised, and the fact that I have never once abandoned something I began. That hope can coexist with pain. It can exist in the same breath as grief. It can be present in the middle of confusion, in the center of waiting, in the depth of a season that makes no sense from the outside. That hope says, I do not know how this resolves, but I know it resolves in hands that love me. I cannot see what comes next, but I know who is already there. I do not understand the process, but I trust the one who designed it. That is not passive. That is one of the most active, courageous things a person can do. To hold hope when the evidence around you is not cooperating requires a profound kind of strength. The kind that is not generated by positive thinking or force of will, but drawn from a source outside yourself. From my presence. From my faithfulness that your history with me has already demonstrated, even if you have sometimes forgotten to count it. Go back and count it. Think about what you have already come through. Think about the seasons that felt final, that felt like they would define your life in the worst possible way. And then think about what came after. Think about the moments when you were certain you could not continue, and yet here you are, continuing. Think about the times my provision arrived in forms you did not expect, through people you did not anticipate, by means you could not have planned or predicted. Think about the fears that consumed you and then dissolved. Think about the losses that felt unsurvivable and the way you found, slowly, unexpectedly, that you could breathe again. That is not accident. That is my faithfulness, written into your actual lived experience. And it is evidence, real evidence, drawn from your own story, that I can be trusted with whatever you are facing today. You think about the future as something that must be managed, a set of variables that need to be controlled, predicted, prepared for. And because there are so many variables you cannot control, thinking about the future becomes a source of dread rather than anticipation. You run the scenarios. You calculate the risks. You try to prepare for every possible difficulty so that nothing catches you off guard. And in doing so, You spend the present moment paying interest on a debt you may never owe. I am already in your future. That is not a metaphor. It is not encouragement language designed to make you feel better. It is the actual nature of who I am, not bound by the sequence of moments the way you are, not discovering your tomorrow when you arrive in it, but already present there, already at work there, already aware of every detail that will meet you when you get there. There is no version of your future that surprises me. There is no development that makes me revise my plans for you, no difficulty that exceeds my capacity, no complexity that causes me to lose the thread of your story. So when your mind races ahead in fear, I want you to remember, you are running into territory I have already occupied. You are not arriving somewhere uncharted. You are following me into a place I have already prepared. And the God who is waiting for you in your tomorrow is the same God who carried you through your yesterday. The same faithfulness, the same love, the same unwavering commitment to your good. Go there with confidence, not the confidence of someone who has everything figured out, but the confidence of someone who knows the one who does. You do not need a map of every step. You only need to know the character of the guide. And you know my character. You have experienced it. You have seen it hold when everything else gave way. Because there is a version of your life ahead of you that is characterized by a peace you do not yet fully know. A steadiness that does not depend on everything going perfectly. A joy that can coexist with imperfection, with uncertainty, with the ordinary texture of real life. Because it is rooted in something beneath all of that. A freedom from the constant low-level anxiety that has been your background noise for so long you have almost stopped noticing it. That life is real. It is being prepared. And the work I am doing in you right now is the foundation of it. Every moment of choosing peace over panic. Every moment of releasing control. Every moment of sitting with me in the uncertainty rather than running from it. Every moment of saying, even when you do not fully feel it, I trust you. Each of those moments is laying a foundation that will hold the weight of everything I am bringing. Do not despise this season. Do not waste it by spending it entirely in resistance to it. There is something available to you right now in the middle of this that will not be available in the same way on the other side. There is an intimacy with me that difficulty makes possible. There is a quality of dependence that only comes when your own resources have run out. There is a tenderness between us in this season that I want you to notice and to receive. Not because I want you to stay here indefinitely, but because I want you to carry what you found here into everything that comes next. You are not just waiting for your life to begin. Your life is happening right now. This season is not the pause before the real story starts. It is part of the real story. And I am in it, all of it. Every quiet morning, every long night, every moment of doubt, and every moment of trust. I am here. I am working. I am faithful. And you, exactly as you are, in exactly this season, with all of its unresolved complexity, you are deeply, completely, irrevocably loved. Keep your peace, not as a performance, not as an effort, but as the natural response of a heart that has finally really believed that. I have got you. Every part of this. Every detail you are afraid to name, every outcome you cannot control, every silence that has frightened you, every future you cannot yet see. All of it is in my hands, and my hands do not let go. Declare I trust if you have faith.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.